Okay, so I saw this video of a girl and she basically said, math isn't real. You know, how could somebody come up with math? Math is crazy. Math is just so complex, and you know, how could somebody like Pythagoras, you know, all the way back then, how could he come up with something like this? How is this possible? And I think it's a really interesting question because obviously it depends on your perception of what's real, but I think math has to be real. And in fact, math is more real than me or you. Math is so real, more real than anything in the universe. Because say you were to go out to intergalactic space where the particle levels are just tiny, right? Tiny. It's like 500,000 particles per square meter. Okay? Say you were to take all those particles, gone. You would not have nothing, because you'd have virtual inflation particles, which are fascinating on their own, and I'd love to go on a tangent about that, but I'm not. So you'd have those, right? Say you take out all the virtual inflation particles, still, you wouldn't have nothing, because the laws of physics would still apply. Laws of physics and math, which are arguably the same thing, but like, laws of physics and math would still apply. And that's what makes them something, because you can never have nothing. The laws of physics and math are universal. You know, y equals mx plus b, that equation works anywhere in the universe, which is crazy to think about. It's crazy. And so like it has to be real. It has to be real. It's so real. Because as we know, there's no way to get rid of the laws of physics. There's no way to get rid of math. It just makes sense. Obviously, like our numbers and stuff, this is our way of understanding it. But yeah, we meet aliens, right? They might not use they're probably not going to use the same number system as we are. But their math conceptually is going to be exactly the same as ours. Whether they use numbers or whatever hologram type beat they use, I don't know. But on a philosophical level, when she says, you know, how could someone come up with this, right? How could Pythagoras all the way back then, you know, come up with this? How I would answer that, which I'm not saying I'm right, not at all, just my opinion, of course. But I would answer that, like, just because it's not something you can imagine yourself or anyone you know doing, doesn't mean it's not something that can be accomplished. Just because it sounds so crazy, you know, it doesn't mean it's impossible. Like you can look at the English language, for example. The English language is crazy. Any language, for that matter, is crazy. You know? Like, how could you get such a huge group of people to come together and, you know, learn a language? Coming up with that language. It's crazy, but it's been done. So I think, rather than thinking of math as some crazy outlandish idea, you need to think of it as just a different language. And as we're still adding words to the English dictionary, we're still adding tons of things to math. We're still constantly, like, figuring stuff out. And, if you just think, if you were to take out everything in a day that you do that is, like, takes no brain power, that just doesn't matter. Like, scrolling through Instagram, watching people make slime, I don't know, something that's just really, you know, doesn't involve using your brain. If you were to cut that all out of your schedule, think of how many things you could actually accomplish. Like, rather than, you know, obviously scrolling through any social media, watching YouTube, watching Netflix, watching any of it. And I am not saying that I'm not a victim of this. I do it all the time. But just think about how much you could accomplish if you didn't. And then that's when you put yourself in the position of someone like Pythagoras, you know? You have all that time, your entire life. You didn't even go to school. All that time, just to come up with math. But yeah, so I just think, you know, we need to actually, you know, I changed my standpoint a lot, but I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. Because if life, if we were to take all those things out of life, there'd be no fun. It wouldn't be fun. It would just be survival of the fittest, which, I don't know. I think it's fine, in moderation, of course, but math is real. Math is so real.